going on, YouTube? Hope y'all had a beautiful Memorial Day weekend, little 3-day weekend if you got it. And we're back for week 4 of videos. And pure informational content today. Through my algorithm of YouTube, I was just listening to some economic stuff today, talking about stagflation. And if you don't know what stagflation is, just hold on one second. I'm about to tell you what it is. From my cursory Google right before I started the video, and like I said, the videos I was watching earlier, it's a rare economic phenomenon that happens when you have high inflation, high unemployment, and low economic growth. And if that sounds familiar, I think that's where we're headed. Direct here soon in the United States. I think that's where we're going. This has happened before. Like I said, it's supposed to be rare. It doesn't happen very often. We're not in it technically right now, I believe, in the United States. It happened to Japan in, I think, the early 2000s, basically 90s into the 2000s. I don't know a whole lot about Japan, but if you know anything, I mean, they don't really, compared to the United States, I guess you could say, but anybody compared to the United States, they don't produce a whole lot of things. Their economy isn't really growing in any way. They actually were going through a period, I don't know if they're still going through it, but they were going through a period of deflation, obviously the opposite of inflation, what we normally deal with here in the United States, where our money becomes worth less over time. Their money was becoming worth more, and that happened after the stagflationary period they had there, and unemployment rose there. So I don't know for sure that's where we're headed, but that might end up where we're going here. I mean, all it would take really is inflation to start just stay where it is or speed up a bit, unemployment to go up, and I believe our GDP numbers have been pretty good, but I mean, who knows? Like I've said in previous videos, I don't know. Economic data from the government, I don't know if I trust it all that much. Took the sunglasses off, I'm putting them right fucking back on because the sun came back out again. Cloudy Ohio. But like I said, Japan's done it. I'm sure there's been periods where the United States has done it for a little while, but not long periods of it. Basically, it's rare in the sense that it's very bad. So if it does happen, I mean, shit's gonna hit the fan. I honestly hope that doesn't happen. Like I said, it's a rare because it's so negative to the economy. It would really fuck things up. In theory, deflation, like I said, if it followed after a period of stagflation, would be kind of nice for you as the consumer, and I would be down with it. Obviously, your money becomes worth more, but in terms of how the government sees it and how we view our economic data, like constant growth is good, stagflation equals low growth, which is bad. So it's just that simple. It's not really too crazy. But I think the main driver of this is going to be, like I said, there's the indicators that cause it. But one of the things I was listening to, I think over the weekend, was talking about how much sway just normal people basically have over the economy at large, and the sentiment that they have, how it impacts things. It's basically like a negative feedback loop, I guess you would say. I know people say, like, that's why people would say like boycotts and things work. You have quite a bit of power in your hands depending on where you spend your money, how you spend your money, and that sort of thing. So like when our economy is doing great, everybody's letting the money fly, spending all the money, you're making more money, you're spending more money. That makes the economy look good. It shows that the economy's growing and people are willing to spend their money. And maybe I can make a different video about it, but that's basically the whole intention of inflation. The government wants a steady rate of inflation so that you're incentivized to spend your money, make GDP look good, constant growth, keep it going, and it just runs the cycle back. So if we hit a period of stagflation, and I'm trying to think through this as I'm doing it, but we would have high inflation but low GDP. So basically, your money is becoming worth less, or low GDP as in low growth. So your money is becoming worth less with inflation as inflation goes up. But the growth is low, so your raises and everything like that are also going to be slowing down, going down. So basically, you get hit with a double whammy of getting fucked by the economic system, as in your money doesn't buy you as much, and you don't get as much increases in pay to try to even keep up with inflation. Lately, I mean, inflation has outpassed everybody's wage raises and things like that, but at least it's kind of kept it relatively close. If you got really good raises, maybe you've beat inflation. I think I'm at least close to on par with the raises I've got, and I know there's definitely people, you jump jobs or do certain things, you can outpace it. But most people, I mean, inflation came in at 3 point some percent last month, I think, when they gave the read on it. And I mean, most people are looking at what, 2 to 5% raises every year, and we're just now getting the inflation to slow back down. So, like I said, if you get hit with heavy inflation and slow growth, so that means your money is just overall you're getting penalized twice, basically, in the money department, and then also that unemployment number goes up, and then people are starting to lose their jobs. So it's literally, that's why it's so negative. It's a triple negative in terms of an economic outcome. But what I was talking about, how much power you have as a consumer to basically influence this cycle and have a little hand in what's going on. If you remember when COVID happened at first, basically, I mean, they track all these various data points, but everybody's savings rate went through the roof because people were uncertain. So when people don't know what's going to happen, they quit spending their money. They hold on to it, and in the short term, that was good because it made your money worth more. Like right when COVID happened, I think everything dropped. Housing prices dropped, car prices dropped because demand dropped. Everybody's holding off on these big purchases. But then when everything picked back up, we hit this high inflationary thing, which incentivizes you to get rid of the money. So right now we're still in that cycle of spend it while you got it, because the next day it becomes worth less. And I think that's obvious to anybody who's paying any lick of attention to anything. I mean, your money doesn't buy you what it used to 5 years ago, so the thought process is, might as well spend it now because you can get as much as it's worth now versus in 5 years when it's worth 20% less or whatever. But the thing is, when it comes to just regular people, this negative feedback loop that I was mentioning is basically consumer sentiment. I don't know if you've ever heard about that. I'm sure there's indexes they follow. They go do polls and ask people how they feel about the economy. You feeling good, feeling bad about it? And see what the general read on the population is of how they feel about the general economy, because like a lot of other things, it's feelings over facts type situation. Like if you feel like you can't afford anything and you feel like you're falling behind, and it's going to lead you to make decisions that are negatively going to impact the economy at large in their view, in the government's view, in the stock market's view, and all these things. So, like I said, with COVID, people being more cautious, prices are too high. You're basically disincentivized to buy anything. Housing is like that right now. The demand is very low because the prices are so high. It's so unaffordable. The demand's falling off because people can't either choose not to if they're being smart about it in theory, or they just can't flat out afford it, so they can't do it. So we're hitting a little new interesting part where it's like the whole society at large, if they can be swayed one way or the other, you can basically dictate the outcome. So if they can convince the United States population, the whole world totally, I guess, in general, but if they can convince you that everything's going well, maybe you'll spend more money, and then that would drive GDP up, drive growth, might drive inflation a little bit, but like I said, they're okay with a little inflation. But basically, it's a positive reinforcement. So if they can convince you it's good, your spending habits can make it good by spending the money. Now, we're not in this situation right now, but if they could convince you it's bad, they could make it be bad. So when you go out and see all these things, you see it's the same with any media. You see a YouTube video, you see news articles, you see the cable news, any television thing where they're like, actually, people think it's bad, but it's actually really good. Well, is it? Or are you just trying to convince them that it's good and sway the outcome. Because if you can convince enough people it's good, they spend the money, and it is good technically, at least for a little bit longer. You can put off the inevitable maybe, and the crash might get postponed a little bit, or at least a small downturn might get postponed. But nobody's trying to convince you it's bad, because, I mean, obviously bad. It's denoted with the qualifier of bad because it is bad. I mean, people are going to lose their jobs, people are going to lose their homes, and it's going to be an all-around negative. Like I said in the previous videos, there's opportunity if you're ready for it, but most people aren't ready for it. I'm hoping to be ready for it, but that's all you can do is prepare yourself and hope for the best, and wait for the negative to happen, because it will happen. We just don't know when. But the longer they can convince you that it's not happening and that everything's fine, and it'll put it off for the longest possible time they can, I guess. My going theory right now is it's like election, basically. Like after the election, it's going to break one way or the other. Either we're going to find out that we might make it out of it, or shit's going to hit the fan, and basically we're going into a recession, I think. Because current government obviously is incentivized to not let the United States go into a recession, because I don't know who said it, but the famous quote of "it's the economy, stupid." If the economy's bad and you're the president, you're getting blamed. Doesn't matter if it's your fault. Doesn't matter if you caused it. Doesn't matter if you could have done anything to stop it. It's just people are going to put two and two together, even if that's not what the actual equation was, and you're catching the blame one way or the other. Doesn't matter. The whole government's catching the blame. I mean, I'm trying to think. I think Obama inherited basically the 2008 housing crash, and that was right in the beginning of his presidency. So maybe that was an outlier. But if the economy crashes, I don't know what's going to happen this election anyway. But if the economy crashes, I mean, Biden would be cooked anyway. Generally, I think the Democrats would probably lose even more stuff in Congress, in the House, and in the Senate, just because people are looking for somebody to blame. So if you let the economy crash on your watch, you're getting blamed one way or the other. Doesn't matter. But it'll be interesting to see if with Biden, I feel like it's. I mean, generally the media is going to push one way or the other as far as consumer sentiment goes, and say, oh, it's good. I would say if they're saying everything's great while you look outside and housing prices are the most unaffordable they've been in maybe 40 years or maybe ever. Car prices are the highest they've ever been. Student loan debt highest it's ever been. Credit card debt the highest it's ever been. Consumer debt just in general highest it's ever been. I mean, I'm seeing a whole lot of negatives. I'm not seeing a whole lot of positives. The only positive I can think off the top of my head really is that people are probably making the most money they've ever made, just because, like I said, these inflationary raises, people are getting, businesses having to pay their employees more just to compete, and honestly, like, let you afford to live. So there's the positive. So we got one positive and maybe a bunch of other negatives that you can avoid. In my mind, I made a couple other videos about it, but there's ways to avoid all these pitfalls, and then hopefully you just reap the benefits of the higher wages, and you can make out like a fat rat, I guess, on it. But my thought is they're pushing positivity. You sow positivity, you reap positivity, I guess, in this sense, where if you convince enough people that everything's going great, it'll be smooth sailing. If you can't convince them and people start pulling back on their spending, it will basically cause the recession. So I think they're trying to avoid that. It'll be interesting to see. I'm interested to see how this goes, especially the election thing, because I think that's where it's going to go. Election is going to dictate economic outcome here in a little while. We only got 6 more months or so, and we're going to be hitting the elections, and then New Year, and you'll see. I mean, if Trump gets elected, I don't know what's going to happen. I have a feeling if Trump wins, basically the economy is going to crash, because they're going to flip the whole narrative as far as everything's going well to, oh, everything's going to shit, inflation, all-time highs, blah, blah, blah. This whitewashing of the economic situation is gonna go away, and they're going to start exposing all the negatives. And then you start pushing people into that negative sentiment, and you bring on the recession. So it'll be curious to see. I don't know. I'd like to hear what you guys think. If anybody's watching this and made it this far, tell me what you think. What you think is going to happen. If you've thought about it in that way, that you can let somebody slowly, subconsciously push you to viewing the economy as a negative or a positive just by reading plenty of news articles. I mean, it definitely works, or they wouldn't be doing it. So, if you got something out of this video, leave it a like. If you didn't like it, dislike it. Tell me why. And I'll catch you guys tomorrow.